It was the first screen shocker from a then unknown author named Stephen King. It shot an obscure actress into Oscar-nominated stardom.
Baby Carrie!
And its low-budget filming launched a charismatic cast of stars-to-be.
It was exciting and terrifying at the same time.
How a daring director and a young cast to die for kept a fateful date in horror movie history. On Backstory, Carrie.
Please talk to me!
That's Satan's power.
It has nothing to do with Satan, Mama. It's me. Me. If I concentrate hard enough, I can move things.
Released in 1976, Carrie told the poignant and chilling story of a sensitive high school outcast
They're all gonna laugh at you!
who uses her supernatural powers to wreak revenge on her tormentors.
It was a Cinderella story with a vengeance, and it was high school on acid.
Those characters, they're very real. There's always someone in the class that's the outcast that people don't like. There's always a Sue.
We're not trying to hurt her, Miss Collins. We're trying to help her. How?
There's always a Chris.
You're so ignorant.
Casting those roles really well, staying truthful to the material, I think that's what makes it stand out.
Stephen King's sinister novel did more than scare up sales for the previously unknown author. In 1974, Carrie was optioned by Hollywood, and the project was assigned to one of the book's biggest fans, Brian De Palma. For over a decade, the ambitious director had been struggling in the byways of low-budget filmmaking, directing edgy political satires and grisly thrillers. Now, De Palma was on the hunt for a film that would elevate him to Hollywood's A-list. After reading King's novel, he was galvanized by Carrie's strange blend of sensitive teen romance and horror.
I really fought to direct Carrie. I remember buying the hardback, which hadn't sold too many copies, and reading it and saying, wow, I could really make a really terrific movie out of this.
He was very close friends with Spielberg, with Scorsese, and with George Lucas, all of whom were having huge success with their projects, both critically and commercially. Brian hadn't been there yet. I definitely think he looked at this material and saw that it could provide exactly that platform for him.
With a budget of just $1.8 million, De Palma couldn't afford any major stars. Instead, he set out to fill his movie with fresh faces, and to find them, he organized a series of auditions held with his friend George Lucas, who was casting his next movie, Star Wars.
George and I were both looking for unknowns, so we sat together and basically went through hundreds of boys and girls looking for the cast for Carrie and Star Wars.
We didn't really know much about either movie. It's just two guys, you know, going like this behind a desk and seeing every teenager in town.
Those casting sessions are legendary. George would give the opening speech as the actor came in, and Brian would give the closing speech. And sometimes, if we were clear that the person wasn't suitable to either one, Brian would launch into the closing speech before George finished the opening speech.
Brian, at that time, seemed scary. He has a kind of gruff exterior, which, once you get to know him, you find is all just a front and that he's a wonderful, warm, big teddy bear. We all wanted the job. A lot of us had never been in films before, so this was a big deal. We all wanted to play Princess Leia. I didn't get it. My consolation prize was Carrie, which was fine.
Carrie became a true family affair for Irving, with the casting of her mother, Priscilla Pointer, to play her movie mom. Real-life ex-boyfriend William Catt was also cast as her on-screen steady Tommy Ross.
What's up?
Can I talk to you?
Oh, right now?
Too important.
All right.
My mom even has a picture of the two of us when both of us had much shorter hair, which is actually in one of the scenes.
Don't you think you're just gonna look a little ridiculous when you walk in the prom with Carrie White?
We don't care how we look, do we?
To play Chris Hargensen, Carrie's vicious high school persecutor, De Palma turned to Nancy Allen, a New York-based actress who almost missed her breakthrough opportunity.
Nothing was going on. I just had no auditions. I had nothing. And it was done. I was going back to New York. This is my one audition since I've been here. I was the last person, the last day to read.
Spit out that gum. Where'll I put it, Miss Collins? You can choke on it for all I care. Just get it out of your mouth.
I really loved that character. So everyone, for about a week into shooting, really stood away from me because they thought I was just this bitchy character that I was playing. And it was kind of good in a way because it sort of made me feel a little outside of it all and have to take care of myself.
But Carrie's dark fairy tale would only fly if De Palma found the right actress for the title role. Dozens were considered, including one long-shot candidate. Sissy Spacek had worked as a set dresser on De Palma's 1974 horror tale, Phantom of the Paradise, alongside Spacek's husband, production designer Jack Fisk. Spacek had also shown promising talent in a string of low-budget films, and Fisk, who was now working on Carrie, urged De Palma to consider his wife for the title role.
Sissy had done a couple of films, but I had my eye set for a young actress I had seen in a movie, and I thought this girl was going to get the part.
I felt so used and abused at that point because I knew Brian, I was not his favorite. And that worked for me. I just decided I was gonna get it.
I don't think anybody took her seriously at first because I think the image of what Carrie was going to be like and what Sissy was like physically weren't the obvious matchup.
Stephen wrote her as a sort of almost repellent-looking person, very alienated, and a character you would have much greater difficulty empathizing with than someone like Sissy, who brings out a natural feeling of warmth and caring about her in the audience.
I reread the book the day before the screen test, and I think I rubbed Vaseline in my hair, and I was really into it, and I was feeling very sorry for myself, which was perfect for the character.
She came in and did the test and, of course, blew everybody away.
To De Palma's surprise, the star he was seeking was right in front of him. Sissy Spacek had jumped to the head of the class and was hired that very day. But with a tight budget and a cast of unknowns, De Palma would need a frightening amount of tenacity and luck to make the strange tale of Carrie a true box office queen.
With her on the team.
On March 1st, 1976, the eager young cast of Carrie reported for duty amid a high school setting that seemed almost eerily familiar.
We were just basically all out of high school, college, whatever, so here we are back in high school, and it was just sort of fun, and we get to pick on one of the girls, so it was like...
The cast was just a dream for the most part. They were as committed and devoted to trying everything.
But some cast members did express anxiety the day De Palma directed Carrie's provocative opening sequence.
All the actresses knew that they were going to have to be naked or partially naked, which created a tremendous amount of tension.
The locker room sequence was not a fun scene to shoot. I remember all of us at lunchtime getting ready to, we knew we were going into the locker room, and nobody spoke.
The most disturbing scene to shoot was the scene in the shower, where we're all tormenting Carrie. There was something in that scene. It's like, I guess it's just like a mob mentality that takes over. I can remember just my whole body shaking and really uncomfortable.
Stand up and take care of yourself. Don't do
What?
Sissy Spacek faced her own set of challenges on the tight shoot. To bring Carrie's vulnerability and isolation to the screen, Spacek kept herself apart from the mostly high-spirited set.
It was a very intense role, which she did so brilliantly. I don't think anybody got really close with Sissy, and I just don't think it was possible for her to be so brilliant in that role and befriend all the kids that were so cruel to her.
Creepy Carrie! Creepy Carrie!
De Palma himself used a method acting trick to draw tears from Amy Irving for a scene with actress Betty Buckley.
Betty and I used to carpool together to Redondo Beach where we were shooting, and Betty and I got to know each other fairly well, and there was a day at the gym where she is scolding us for what we'd done.
Did any of you ever stop to think that Carrie White has feelings?
Brian didn't tell me he wanted me to well up, and he didn't know that it's like welling up for me. If you want me, give me 3 seconds, I'll well up for you. But he wanted to be sure it happened, so he had Betty stand behind the camera and hurl abuses at me. And because she was privy to a lot of my private life at that time, she hurled some whoppers at me.
Now, my idea for this little trick you pulled was 3 days suspension and refusal of your prom tickets.
He got the welled up and stuff, but after I just said, Brian, if you want tears, just tell me you want tears. You don't have to play tricks on this girl.
One unexpected challenge during the shoot was the skyrocketing celebrity of one of Carrie's supporting players, John Travolta, who was cast as Chris's boyfriend, Billy.
When we started the movie, he had just begun his first season of Welcome Back, Kotter. So he wasn't this phenomenon. But by the time we were shooting on location, they had to put up barricades for the fans that were there. It was quite amazing.
Yeah, that's what you like about me, right? I know that.
He and I had a great chemistry together. It was very, very easy. He was real supportive.
I want you to do something.
What?
Something important.
Also in the cast of Carrie was one Oscar-nominated veteran.
Help the sinning woman see the sin of her days and ways.
Carrie marked the movie return after 15 years of Piper Laurie, cast as Carrie's fanatical mother,
I pray you find Jesus.
and last seen on screen in the 1961 drama The Hustler.
You're a woman now.
Piper was so amazing because she just came in and just filled up that character with such power.
You must renounce this power. You must give it up. You must never use it.
So it was such fun to do battle with her. You know, it was a dance.
He's gonna laugh at you. They're all gonna laugh at you.
Sit down and be quiet!
But no scene in Carrie was more difficult or dangerous than the movie's climax, Carrie's fateful prom night.
I give you Tommy Ross and Carrie White.
It was exhilarating and romantic and magical.
Throughout the material, what Brian did was to take a lyrical sequence and follow it with what one could call a horror sequence. The prom, similarly, is the most wonderful prom, only to turn savagely horrible.
We started getting into the darkness of it. The mood on the set started changing. It starts out to be this wonderful thing, and it turns into this nightmare.
Sissy was covered in Karo syrup with vegetable dye to make it look red. And every day for weeks, she had to be covered from head to foot in this horrible stuff.
The producer came to me because the head of the studio was very upset about this pig's blood on top of her, and the producer said to me, could we change it to something else? And I said, what are we going to use, blue paint? I don't think it'll have exactly the same effect. How about confetti?
It was an amazing sensation. But after it started to dry, it got sticky. And so my chin would stick to my neck and my arms would stick to my sides. Brian would say, "Open your eyes wider." He knew exactly what he wanted me to do.
It became increasingly tense, and a few people got hurt.
The scene where I get batted around with the fire hose hit me right in the ear. It broke my eardrum, and I just completely collapsed. And they actually use a part of that film in the actual final cut. And that's the actual moment where I die. I fainted, the grips came and picked me up, and I went to the hospital, and I had a broken eardrum.
Father, what moving? Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
By the spring of 1976, filming on Carrie was almost complete. But while Carrie White was meeting a nasty end on screen at the hands of her demented mother, director Brian De Palma was still searching for the perfect finale that was sure to bring down the house.
While we were shooting, there was no ending to the film. They hadn't decided yet who was going to live. And I mean, there was a lot of fighting going on about it.
Well, I remember Brian and I went to see Deliverance together. And at the end, there's a shot of the river, and a hand comes out holding up a rifle, but it comes up slowly. And I remember Brian turned to me as we left the theater. He said, "You know, that ending, I could do that so much better."
When we were shooting the last sequence, he was filming backwards, so I had to walk backwards. There would be this kind of dreamlike way of my dress moving. The cars would be going backwards. Then he has me barefoot walking across into the grave, and the rocks are really sharp, and I'm kind of like moving. He goes, "No, no, no, it's a dream. You have to glide across." And then there I am with Sissy buried alive.
They wanted to send me home and use a stand-in, and I was adamant about doing all my own foot and hand work.
When I read the scene on paper, it just didn't sound that exciting. And then I sat in the audience on Halloween and saw an entire audience like shake a building as it jumped, and the audience scared me to death.
You'd see every single seat in the theater sort of go back like this as people stiffened in the, reacted physically to the shock. Oh, it was great fun.
Carrie bowed on movie screens on November 17th, 1976. The sound of screaming audiences echoed across America. And Brian De Palma could finally celebrate his first commercial smash.
It was incredible to see how caught up people would get in it and talk back to the characters on the screen.
Critics were also quick to praise Carrie's dazzling cast. John Travolta, Amy Irving, Nancy Allen, and William Catt were among those now launched on successful film and TV careers. But it was Sissy Spacek who won critics' and viewers' hearts with her touching and real portrayal. The result was the 27-year-old's first Oscar nomination as the year's Best Actress.
Sissy found the way that not only was Carrie the outcast, but similarly had an inner life that would make us love her and fall in love with her all the way through the movie.
Come on. To the devil with false modesty.
The devil.
Piper Laurie was also nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Never before had two women earned Oscar nominations for a horror film, a genre the Academy usually shunned. But there was much more to Carrie than simple scares. Brian De Palma had mixed lyrical movie poetry with blunt, shocking horror to create a haunting fairy tale packed with genuine human emotion.
You should have told me.
I don't think of it simply as a horror movie, and perhaps its success is that, except in one very specific way, it really isn't. It is a fantasy, fractured fairy tale come absolutely true, and Brian in particular hit it out of the box.
We all have felt like Carrie. We've all wanted to be able to just set someone's hair on fire, you know, do something to them when they're treating us badly, and we all feel so misunderstood as adolescents.
Carrie just brings out that primal memory for all of us of just how awful it was and how glad we're not there anymore. It resonates in everybody's life.